Hi Joan and Shifra, Declan here. I'm sending a short video walk through the service. I thought it might be helpful in sharing with the wider team so people understand what the service is and how it works. So DCU CampusConnect is a mobile app. It's available in the Google Play and iOS store. It's an invite-only service, so you have to be invited to join. Typically, teams invite students to join before they start, so pre-enrollment, typically in the weeks before the students actually set foot on campus. When the students are invited to join, it's usually an email or text message, depending on what's available. The students are prompted to download an app, and in downloading they generate an account. What we do at that point is we capture key values, typically subject area, a little bit about the student themselves, interests, where they're from. We might capture, for some institutions we have multiple campuses, we might capture what campus they're at and so on. This information simply is used to help us bring the students together, to match them with the right fellow applicants, peers, and to also put them in the right groups and to send them the right information. On the app, there are 4 distinct roles. You have the applicants themselves, or the current students, or the new entrants. We have the mentors who are providing, second or third year students providing support, peer support through the platform. We have staff who are available perhaps for process type questions through induction orientation. And then there are graduates. In some cases, we have alumni who are available to talk about the employment opportunities or to feedback in terms of where a particular course supports them in their day-to-day work and so on. Once the students register, then they are given a list of suggested connections. Now this is just a mock-up, I can't show you the actual DCU app for obvious reasons. The system will connect them really based on the subject. Students can search for people from their area, they can search around subject, they can search around start date, countries, etc. So whatever variables are available in the app for that particular setup. So it'll give them a list of suggested connections to help start the networking. The idea is to help students to connect, to give them, build that sense of community, that sense of belonging that they can get. Obviously, with fewer face-to-face opportunities now, there's not the physical on-campus, open days and tours, etc. We're working with the likes of Liverpool, John Moores at the moment to try and build that kind of sense of community virtually, to replace a lot of what they used to do through the on-campus events. Once they're into the app, they're presented a list of groups. The groups are opt-in, opt-out. The groups are filtered and targeted. So if I put psychology in my profile, I'll have a psychology group. Some groups are more targeted. So you could have groups, students coming from the UK group, which is available only to those students. And then there are more global groups, which could be all the students starting at DCU in September. There are 2 types of groups, and I mentioned this yesterday. There are staff-led groups and there are also peer-led groups. Staff-led groups tend to be more process focused, so they might be things like deadlines, induction information, schedules, that type of thing. Whereas the peer-to-peer are around subject area, interests, accommodation, and ways to just help them network and to find fellow peers and friends, essentially. So the app, this is what drives 90% of the engagement of the app is in the group feature, and the vast majority of the groups available are peer-led. So if we look afterwards at Liverpool John Moore's app, they have hundreds of groups, and the groups are 80-90% peer-led. So the staff input isn't as onerous. The peer groups then, the way they're set up is the ambassadors are assigned a subject group, and they are responsible then for that particular subject group. They answer questions, or the mentors answer questions that can be DM'd, but they also facilitate community building. So they help the applicants to kind of connect and to support them in finding others from in their subject area. They're also used to kind of pull the applicants into the right groups and make sure that nobody is left really without a connection. And we can measure, and I'll show you this in a second, we can see the level of connectivity on the back end, and we can see the level of engagement, and we can red flag students perhaps that aren't engaging. And so it's a useful tool in terms of retention and in terms of student engagement, student experience. For the teams as well, there's an opportunity to actually push out important deadlines information. It's used a lot around induction, that type of thing as well. There's also peer content, so the students themselves often produce content which we can filter through to this push as a kind of a push notification to say here's a current student who maybe writes a blog, or sometimes short videos and that type of thing, depending on what the team and the focus is. Now I'll jump out and I'll quickly just show you this is the Liverpool John Moores live system. So this is what the staff see. So there's over 4,000 students already on here for September start. So it's a big intake. What they get is, so as the students register, you can see sort of the kind of information that the students add in. So there's profile pictures, you get a last active, they put their social media handles on there, the subject, the course type of registration, student type, start date, end date, country, and their applicant ID to verify their account and some interest. Once they do that, then they're into the relevant groups and with the right peers and hooked up with the right mentor or ambassador. What we use this mostly for is to really keep an eye in terms of engagement, to look at the overall trend of engagement. I'm not going to go into too much detail into the back end here, because you can slice and dice this in many ways, and it depends really on what the focus is and what the team is looking for. But most often it's really red flagging those who look like they're at risk, and just making sure that all the students are engaged in some type of peer activity, so they're being connected with fellow applicants or mentors. The ambassadors then are supported through so this is the range of ambassadors. They have a lot of ambassadors, that kind of volume. We're talking about 45 ambassadors. The ambassador then engagement is measured, and there's also they monitor. I think I mentioned this yesterday. They recently started monitoring the ambassador conversations with the applicants as well, because it is important that it was important for them to be able to ensure that they had visibility over the direct message interaction between the students and the mentors. Typically what happens, it's a scaffolded approach. So here's the group. You can see there's a lot of groups here. So they have, as I mentioned, I think there are over 100 groups here. There's more. Typically around subject area, there's also students traveling from a particular area. There's some international groups here as well. And the ambassadors, what they do is they're responsible for the groups. They can see the level of engagement in a particular group. They can see a kind of a group list or member list. And what they do is they feed back then to the team in terms of what's happening in different areas. So it's the team will disseminate maybe particular information, then the ambassadors or mentors will kind of obviously talk to the students within those groups and then feed back to the teams again. So that approach we find works, is more scalable, and it doesn't take as much resource on the team. So that's a really quick overview. I haven't gone into too much detail here because it'll take a while just to go through all the pieces. But I hope that's useful. And if you have any more questions, or you would like me perhaps to do a wider call with the team, I know there's been some discussions. I had a conversation as well with the Access team, with Kathy McLaughlin and Lawrence, around supporting Access students as well. So I'm happy to bring everyone together perhaps and do a wider presentation on this, as I feel there may be value in doing that to deliver value across multiple areas, because it seems to be the same approach across the board, just slightly different team focus. But I hope this is useful, and do come back to me if you have any questions, and enjoy your Easter break. Take care.